Hello everyone and welcome back to Launch Investing. Today's video dives into the 2023 performance of Reysaş Logistics. There was a bit of a wait for the annual report to drop after the initial financials were released. Honestly, I was hoping for a more polished presentation this time around. However, we got the familiar 37-page document that seems as though it was crafted by the newest intern at the company. Does this bother me? Not in the slightest. As long as the results are solid, I am all for it. Besides, I entertain the thought that they are biding their time, waiting to hit that $1 billion mark before giving their report an overhaul. Today's discussion will be concise, so make sure to stay till the end to discover why. Without any further ado, let's dive right in. A quick disclaimer before we proceed. This video is purely for entertainment purposes. I am not a financial advisor or analyst. As a shareholder of the company, my aim is simply to share my personal insights. Neither this nor any other content produced by Launch Investing should be taken as investment advice. Now, for our newcomers, today's focus is on Reysaş Logistics, primarily a logistics powerhouse within Turkey. Reysaş also plays a significant role in the country's export logistics, extending their services internationally. Apart from logistics, their portfolio includes railway transportation, tobacco products distribution, and private vehicle inspection services in certain regions of Turkey. But most importantly, they have a subsidiary called Reysaş GEO, which owns over $1 billion worth of real estate that is mostly warehouses, and they rent those warehouses to very big firms like Mercedes, IKEA, Carrefour, and so forth. Reysaş GEO is also a public company that is 62% owned by Reysaş Logistics. Also, Turkey has high inflation, and this year the companies use accounting method called inflation accounting. In essence, inflation accounting aims to give a clearer picture of a company's true financial performance by considering the effects of inflation on the value of money over time. But if you follow the Turkish companies this earnings season, there have been lots of surprises for both positive and negative. And I have seen an analyst report which basically said even we don't totally understand inflation accounting's effects totally. So there can be lots of surprises this season. Also, the companies adjusted their comparables from last year as well to make it a fair comparison. However, the adjustments were done for the previous year only, so if you want to go further back, you may want to be careful about it. The method I always use to analyze Turkish companies is to take their earnings for the period and translate it to US dollars using the last day of the period, and that period is usually a quarter. But for this video, I will be using the last day of the year, so it will look like a little lower. But that's just the way I do it, to make it easier to understand for this video. Also, since Reysaş has lots of subsidiaries, mainly Reysaş GEO, their earnings also include non-controlled shares, and for those who don't know what that is, think of Berkshire and their subsidiaries. Let's say Nebraska Furniture, for example. I believe Mrs. B kept some stake of the company after she sold it to Buffett. So let's say she kept 10% and Nebraska made 100% in a period. Berkshire owns 90% of the company, so 90% is what Berkshire actually gets from it. But since they own majority, they take in $100 in its entirety, but show that $10 is an uncontrolled. But also, if you look at the earnings from Reysaş's biggest subsidiary, Reysaş GEO, you will see that they have earned 17 billion liras, but Reysaş is not taking in that 17 billion as the earnings of Reysaş GEO, because that includes the price appreciation of the assets Reysaş GEO owns, which Reysaş just doesn't take it as earnings. I think they should, but that's like a very detail of a detail. So there may be a regulation there or something, I don't wanna lie, I don't really know the exact reason. But for the video, I will be using the general net earnings figure because that is what the generally accepted number is for most cases. I know this has been a very long entrance, but I wanted to make sure the numbers actually mean something. In 2023, Reysaş Logistics reported an impressive full year earnings total of 1.1 billion liras. When converted using the year-end exchange rate, this amounts to 38.6 million US dollars. To put this growth into perspective, in 2022, their earnings were 350 million liras, which, when adjusted for the exchange rate at the end of that year, equated to 18.7 million US dollars. The substantial growth to 106% is noteworthy, especially considering it was achieved under the lens of inflation accounting, and also calculated using the very last day exchange rate, which happened to be at its peak. Post-earnings, Reysaş has experienced significant volatility, with its market valuation ranging between $500 to $550 million. At the time of recording, the market cap stands at $528 million. With $38.6 million in earnings, the price-to-earnings ratio is just under 14. For a company that is expanding at triple-digit rates, such a valuation might be seen as remarkably low. Looking at the history of their revenues, gross and net profits, it is important to remember that Reysaş has always been a company that invests its capital to fuel growth, so their earnings have been all over the place. While their top line kept a steady increase, their bottom line did not, because of these investments. But around a couple years ago, the cash flows from their previous investments increasingly started to print out cash that was big enough to affect the bottom line, and since then they have been growing like a rocket. But don't let these bars trick you. They are in lira, so the real growth is a little slower than shown here. For example, in 2023, their net profit growth in lira terms is more than double compared to the growth in dollar terms. Now, onto the balance sheet, but unfortunately, the balance sheet of Reysaş is quite literally as tricky as it gets. Now, first of all, I am sure they are following all the regulations of accounting standards and all, because I really don't think the management wants to pay any fines, so I can say that because the ownership structure of Reysaş is similar to Berkshire, the people in charge are actually owning the stock in huge amounts of their own wealth. So their interests are aligned with the shareholders. As Munger would say, the incentives are everything. And in this case, the incentives, in my opinion, are aligned with the management and the shareholders. I am not going to get into the details here. But long story short, Reysaş actually eliminates a huge chunk of their assets in their reportings. If you want to get deeper into this, you can check their financial results filing from CAP. And that is not the annual report, be careful, it is the financial results filing. I will leave the links to both of them in the description and the comments. But going on from what they reported, the most important thing that we can see from here is the fact that they have paid down a huge portion of their long-term debt in 2023. And that makes a lot of sense, because here is the interest rate graph of Turkey. It went from almost 10% to 42.5%. At the end of the year, and currently it sits at 50%. And remind you, that is the central bank's rates, so the company's interest rates are always higher than what is shown in here, in order for finance institutions to make money as well. So I think that was a great choice to pay down the debt, potentially saving the company millions of dollars on the interest expenses. And when we compare the long-term debt in dollar terms year over year, it is down more than 50%, and that's a great job done in my opinion. And the shareholders' equity has grown by more than 138% in dollar terms year over year. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. Reysaş has raised capital in 2023, and recently they have issued bonds for 1 billion liras as well. Also, as you have seen in this video before, they have paid down a good amount of long-term debt as well. And again, as I have shown before, for the last couple of years, Reysaş has also been bringing in a good amount of profits, so I believe that especially in the logistics side, the management probably sees a lot of places to put capital to work, and Reysaş is not going to go for 5 to 10% returns. They want their money back in 3 years or less. In fact, there was a very new deal that was done and declared from the GAO side. They bought a warehouse for $5.4 million, and they will build a factory building there. The rent that is expected from that warehouse by 2025 is $2.5 million annually. That is an incredible return on capital. There are a couple of things I just want to quickly go over here. 1. Reysaş is operating in Turkey, not in the United States. What I mean by that is that kind of return would be very surprising in the United States or any other developed country like United Kingdom, Canada, whatever, due to the incredible amounts of capital that is chasing the deals there. And Charlie Munger has also talked about this as well. Currently, lots of very smart people are looking for deals there, and it has gotten much harder compared to the early days of Berkshire, when Buffett and Munger would always find deals much more often and easier than the current age. But in Turkey, that days of finding deals left and right are still reigning for the competent capital allocators. Reysaş has set the capital ready to fund this deal. They said that they have not taken any additional debt for this deal, and Reysaş has also a name in the sector. They are the biggest warehouse operator in Turkey, and their renters are incredibly big firms. Think of Amazon, Mercedes, Carrefour, IKEA, you name it. When these companies come into Turkey, they don't want to go over either the capex or the hassle of finding plots, getting the permits, the construction. They just go to Reysaş and rent them at the prices Reysaş is asking, and they don't even care. Couple of $1 million a year for a warehouse is nothing compared to the size of their operations in Turkey. Turkey's GDP has now crossed the $1 trillion mark in 2023. And I got a question about what to look for in the future for Reysaş. I think that in the short to medium term, the thing that investors should be looking out for is the 3 big projects of Reysaş, and those are Muhit, Milicia, and Otorep. I still think the market is heavily underestimating them, and that is assuming if the market is looking at all. As we wrap up today's discussion, it is crucial to highlight that the insights shared about Reysaş's balance sheet and Reysaş GAO's reports are derived entirely from publicly available information. My goal has always been to sift through these resources, analyze them truly, and share the findings with you. The video format, while engaging, presents its own set of challenges. It requires tens of hours dedicated to studying the businesses that I cover, ensuring the content I bring to you is both informative and accurate. Looking ahead, while I will be continuing to offer occasional business insights on this channel, I am excited to announce the launch of a Patreon page. This new platform will allow me to provide more in-depth analysis in written form. covering the businesses I talked about on the channel, in which I also have my investments in, such as Reysaş, TAV Airports, Anadolu Efes, and Doğuş Otomotiv. Subscribers can look forward to a monthly newsletter with updates on these companies, insights into my buying or selling decisions, and discussions on value investing principles. Additionally, Patreon supporters will enjoy early access to my videos, participate in Q&A sessions, and receive the investment checklists and templates that I use. While my tools are straightforward, I believe in the power of simplicity for effective investment tracking. My aim with this shift is not just to delve deeper into the intricacies of these companies, but to leverage a format where I can provide greater value, especially considering the time constraints and challenges associated with video production, such as recording and editing. The Patreon page will go live alongside my comprehensive deep dive into Reysaş. I plan to subsequently explore TAV Airports, Anadolu Efes, and Doğuş Otomotiv in detail, alongside the regular newsletters. While my YouTube presence might become less frequent, I am eager to connect with you on this new platform. If you have enjoyed my coverage of Turkish companies so far, I am very confident you will find the deep dives even more rewarding. The detailed exploration of Reysaş Logistics and Reysaş Geo's balance sheet, as well as the major projects mentioned today, will be covered extensively in my upcoming writings. So thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and hopefully on the Patreon soon.